In the last episode, Tammy was invited by her ex-husband to watch him marry the same woman he cheated on her with. He thought it would break her. He wanted to show the whole world that she had lost. But Tammy didn't come to cry. She came in peace. She stepped out of a black SUV with 3 beautiful children by her side. Calm, graceful, and strong, the whole place went silent. Even the music stopped. Tony's proud smile faded as he saw her walk, and he tried to act brave. "So, you came," he said. Tammy looked him in the eye and replied, "I came to see." She placed one small envelope on the gift table, turned around, and walked out, leaving everyone speechless. That day, she didn't shout. She didn't fight. She simply showed what peace looks like after pain. But that wasn't the end of Tammy's story. Monsters don't disappear just because you stop looking at them. And sometimes the past doesn't stay buried. It comes back louder than before. And for Tammy, it came back with fire. At the wedding, she wounded Tony's ego. Instead of groveling, she came back stronger and better. So he swore to teach her a lesson. Few days after the wedding, Tammy went back to Canada. Tammy's life had finally found rhythm again. Her health consultancy was small, but growing. Hospitals called and conferences invited her. She got a lot of awards for the innovative work she was doing. At night, she'd sit by her window, watching the city lights blink like fireflies against the Toronto skyline. And somewhere between exhaustion and gratitude, she would whisper softly, "We made it, Mama." Back home, her mother, Mary, was doing well too. Her tailoring shop had turned into a small training center. She had a lot of apprentices she was training. The shop was filled with fabrics of all kinds and different types of machine. In fact, it was among the biggest fashion design hubs in Lagos. She taught her girls not only how to sew, but also how to handle their finances, how to make impact in their own little ways. She also taught them how to stand up for what they want out of life. The girls called her Mama. Everything was going well until one rainy afternoon, Tammy's phone buzzed. An unknown number. She opened it. A photo. Her mother's shop window, shattered, and below it, a message that chilled her blood. "You can run, but your mother can't." Her hands froze. Her heartbeat doubled. Her breath caught halfway. Tony. It had to be Tony. He had lost everything. Tony was a businessman. He sold car parts. He used to have one of the biggest spare parts shop in Lagos. His business thrived on referrals. People would order car parts from him all over the country. 4 months prior, one of Tony's friends introduced him to a Ponzi scheme called CBEX. He was promised that any amount of money he invested would be given back to him in 10-folds. At first, he invested only 1 million naira. After 6 weeks, he withdrew 10 million naira. He was the happiest man in Lagos. He went around convincing his friends to join him in the Ponzi scheme. 3 months down the line, he needed to reinvest into his spare parts shop. He told himself he would use the money instead and invest into the Ponzi scheme so he would get 10x to buy more goods. Unfortunately, the scheme crashed and he lost all his capital. His friends, the ones he introduced into the Ponzi scheme, also lost their money. They got him arrested and he had to sell some of his goods to pay them for their losses. His business kept losing money. The little profits he got, he drank it all away. He got into debt that crippled the business. And one day, his creditors came and seized his shop. Since he could no longer support his family, his new wife left him and ran away with their 3 children. He lost his home, the second wife he cheated for. He was angry, desperate, and always drunk again. And when men like Tony lose control of their lives, they look for someone else to blame, he started spreading lies. He told neighbors Tammy was a fraud, that she had stolen his fortune, that Mary was part of a deception. Rumors spread like oil fire, faster than truth, and twice as loud. Tammy called her mother every day. Mary always answered softly, "Don't come, my daughter. You have your life now. I can handle this." But mothers say that when they want to keep you safe, even when danger's already at the door, then one night, Tammy's phone rang again. Her younger sister's voice, shaking. "Tammy, Mama's been shot." The words hit like glass breaking. Mary had just locked up her shop. She was tired, driving home through the wet streets. But Tony was waiting, parked right outside her house. He stepped out, rain sliding down his face, a gun in his hand. When Mary saw him, she froze. He looked at her the way a man looks at his reflection after losing everything. "Your daughter stole my life," he said. "She took everything away from me. Now I'm going to take something from her." He raised a gun. Mary screamed, shoved him, and tried to run toward her car. A shot cracked through the rain. The bullet tore into her leg. She fell, crying out, hands clawing the mud. Tony walked toward her slowly, the gun trembling but his rage steady. She begged. He didn't stop. Another shot, louder, closer. The bullet entered the back of her head. She went still. Blood mixed with rainwater, curling down the driveway like red rivers. When Tammy heard the news, her body shut down. Her knees gave out. Her phone slipped from her hand. The sound that came from her wasn't a scream. It was something deeper, primal, a cry that didn't sound human. She booked the next flight. On the plane, her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She called her sister on WhatsApp video and whispered, "Show me Mama." The screen blurred with hospital lights. Mary lay on a gurney, drenched in blood, motionless. The doctors were working fast. One shouted for clamps, another for suction. Tammy could only watch. Tammy wept until her voice broke. She called Tony. Through tears, she said, "You killed my mother." His voice was cold. "Yes, and if I find you, I'll kill you too." She hung up. The sound of his words stayed ringing long after the call ended. She was terrified and enraged at the same time. Tammy arrived at dawn. The air was heavy, thick with fear and rain. She rushed straight from the airport to the hospital. Mary had survived the attack. There was a hole in her face, a gaping wound above her lip. Luckily, the bullet that hit her leg was a through and through, clean but brutal. It went in and came out, and didn't do any real damage. The bullet to her head had entered below the skull, grazing bone, missing every artery by inches. It was a miracle she was still breathing. The doctors called it a miracle. They kept her sedated at night. She's stable. They said, "Go home. Rest. You've both been through enough." Tammy didn't sleep. She sat up till dawn, watching the ceiling, her chest tight with guilt and rage. By morning, she was back at the hospital, waiting at her mother's bedside. Mary's head was wrapped in bandages. Her leg, too. Tubes and gauze everywhere. She looked fragile, a shadow of a woman who had once carried Tammy on her back through storms. Tammy sat beside her, holding her hand. The room smelled like antiseptic and sorrow. She watched her mother's chest rise and fall. She kept praying that she wouldn't lose her. Then, slowly, Mary's unbandaged eye opened. Tammy broke down again, sobbing. Mary tried to speak, her voice faint. "Water," she whispered. Tammy held the straw to her lips, her hands trembling. Mary took a sip, winced, then smiled. "Weak but alive. Don't cry," she said again. "Thank God. He spared me." Tammy couldn't speak. She leaned in and held her mother tight, their tears mixing with relief and gratitude. Mary whispered, weak but defiant, "Don't cry, my child. I will be fine." 7 days later, Mary was discharged. Still weak but alive. Tony wasn't so lucky. He was arrested 2 days later, at a bar, drunk, loud, telling anyone who'd listen that he had taught Tammy a lesson. The police took him away in handcuffs. For a while, it seemed justice had arrived. Tammy filed motions opposing his bail, calling him a danger to her family, to the community, to every woman like her mother. But the system didn't care about women like Mary. Because he survived, it wasn't murder. Because Tammy never reported the beatings years ago, he was considered a first-time offender. Tony's lawyer argued he had 3 young children to care for. He promised the court he was remorseful. The case dragged on for months. One morning, Tammy received a call. He had made bail. He pleaded guilty to attempted murder. No trial, no sentence, just 4 years probation. Tony never spent a single night in prison. He walked free, the same streets where Mary still lived, the same city where Tammy had rebuilt her life. The last Tammy heard, he was renting a small apartment in Lekki, not far from her mother's new home. Justice didn't come, but Mary was alive. And Tammy had learned, survival is not the end of the story. It's just the beginning of another fight. If you enjoyed this story and would love a part 3, please subscribe to this channel and turn on your notification bell so you wouldn't miss the next episode.